National Powerboat Association presents Poker Run 98 at the Lincoln Harbor Yacht Club. The first of 3 poker runs for the National Powerboat Association this year. Today, we're located on the Hudson River, directly across from New York City. This is the largest in-water gathering of powerboats in the country this year. 139 powerboats to be exact. All of the top manufacturers are represented, all of the top gear, all the power, and some personalities from the offshore powerboat circuit are also here today. So stay tuned for what has become one of the most exciting and colorful events in boating, the National Powerboat Association's Lincoln Harbor Poker Run. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Lincoln Harbor Yacht Club's second annual poker run, brought to you by the National Powerboat Association. In only 2 years, this event has grown to be one of the largest boating events on the water anywhere in the world. It's the morning of the event at Lincoln Harbor in Weehawken, New Jersey, across from this beautiful Manhattan skyline. Hi, I'm Chris Kelly, and I'm here with my co-host Rich Lures to bring you the second annual Lincoln Harbor Yacht Club Poker Run. This is the first leg in a Triple Crown event sponsored by the National Powerboat Association, and behind me we've got an awesome collection of powerboats. Some of them are the most technologically advanced on the market today.
That's right, Chris. What an event. If you like horsepower, speed, and thrills, this is the place for you. Over 100,000 horsepower spread over a fleet of over 100 boats, ranging in size from 18-foot Donzies up to 50-foot Sunseekers and Hustlers. A great fleet. We'll be down looking closely at those boats before the event, but first, Chris will take us through the concept.
Right, let's talk about how a poker run works. Right after the captain's meeting today, all the drivers are going to be given a sealed poker card. Now, after the green flag is dropped on a pace boat right underneath the George Washington Bridge, that'll happen about noon, the entire fleet will fly up the Hudson River to the Ossining Boat and Canoe Club, which is north of the Tappan Zee Bridge, about 20 miles up the river. This first leg of the event is the speed run, so we're sure to have some great action here. Then, all the boats will proceed 5 more miles north across the Hudson to Haverstraw Marina, where they'll tie up the boats, receive the third card, and break for lunch. The fleet will then assemble for another start from the Tappan Zee Bridge all the way down to Chelsea Piers in Manhattan to pick up card number 4, and then back across to Lincoln Harbor for the last card. The sealed envelopes are open, and then the winner with the best 5-card stud poker hand receives a grand prize of $5,000 cash, and trophies are given for the King and Queen of the Hudson. The King is the fastest boat on our speed run today, and the Queen is the best-looking big boat in the show. Now, Rich spoke earlier with the executive director of the National Powerboat Association, who's also the organizer of this event, Mr. Billy Friends.
One of my favorite people and a great guy, rock and roll Billy Friends, race producer, former racer, boat dealer, and musician. How did you put this together? The poker run concept, where did it come from?
The poker run concept came from snowmobiles and motorcyclists. 20 years ago they were doing it. It was adapted to the boaters early 90s or so up in Canada, and we brought it down here in 92. We started doing it out of Greenwich, Connecticut. Now we've grown, and now we're here in New York City, and we're producing one of the largest poker runs that's in America today.
Technically, it's not a race. It's a great family day, but it's not a race, right?
That's true. It's not a race. But boy, we go fast.
While the boats are warming up their engines in the holding pen, let's spend a minute and talk about the conditions today. It's about 85 degrees, and the current here on the Hudson River is running southbound at about 4 knots. It's very strong. Now, that's not going to be much of a factor for the guys who are running 130, 140 miles an hour, but for the 60, 70 mile an hour boats, it could be a factor. Also, the wind is pretty strong, about 10 knots, coming straight down the Hudson. And what that means, it's going to be a bad hair day for just about everybody. Okay, so technically, this is not a powerboat race. Technically speaking, this is not a powerboat race. But as Billy said, the 120 drivers out here today, some of them are going to be concerned with a lot more than what kind of cards they draw in their hand.
And technically, they're going to have a great time today, no matter what happens, race or no race. We're going to go down to the pitch later on, have a quick look at some of these boats and some of the great hardware inside the boats. But before that, stay right where you are, because we'll be right back.
The NPBA on Speedvision. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back to the National Powerboat Association's second annual Lincoln Harbor Yacht Club Poker Run. This has become a real manufacturers and designers in-water showcase. So we've come down to the docks to get a closer look at some of the incredible hardware and to talk to some of the well-known personalities at this event. Here's Rich Lures.
John D'Elia, ex-national champion, ex-world champion. After 20 years of racing, have you ever seen anything like this?
No, not quite. It reminds me of being back in 1988. I'm dating myself about 10 years in Key West. I have 120 boats, 130 boats here. It looks like an offshore powerboat world championship. It's amazing. I can't believe it.
There's a pleasure boat here that'll do 150 miles an hour.
Yeah, I've heard about it. I looked at it. It's a skater, I think, and I can't believe it because I was talking to the fellow that owns it. I forget his name. He's a doctor. And I said, Doc, you ought to be in the running with OPT or running with Superboat. That thing does 150 miles an hour. I think you'd probably win the national championship. He said, you're right, John, but it's a lot safer this way.
Okay, we're here with Paul Fiore, who's the president and chief designer of Hustler Boats. We're aboard this new, for 1998, Hustler 50. It's called Nasty Girl. And Paul, what is it about this whole design that makes the boat unique?
Well, a few years ago, we worked on a design with a stepped hull. We were the first ever to do a stepped hull in the U.S. We've been doing that since 1984. And I redesigned it and reconfigured it and came up with a new variation, which was significant enough that we were able to get a U.S. patent on it. And I believe that we're the only manufacturer in the country that's got a real patented hull design. It's called our tech step design.
Is this vented from the side, or explain how exactly it works?
It's vented from the side, but it's a variable dead rise. What we do, instead of trying to get the boat to come up and balance on a pad the way some of the boats do,
right,
we're actually doing just the opposite. We're bringing the keel up higher and balancing the boat on the chines and the strakes. So we get a much more stable ride and we get a little bit more speed.
Now, what I've been hearing about stepped hulls, and some of the people who don't use stepped hulls say, well, a stepped hull boat, it gets so far out of the water that it's hard to control.
It's not really true. It's not that we're trying to get the boat further out of the water. We actually have more boat in the water front to back than a non-stepped hull, because we've got various, it's like having 3 different hulls all in line. So it's like having a real long footprint, so it's got to be more stable.
So given this horsepower package that you have here, if this was a regular deep V-bottom boat versus your stepped hull design, what do you think the improvement is in speed?
Most standard deep Vs of this size, that kind of power, probably be 20 miles an hour slower than this thing.
20 miles an hour.
This is a 20,000-pound boat. I mean, it's a yacht.
One thing that's kind of unique here, and we ought to show the viewers, is this twin helm design. Can you tell us what's going on here?
Yeah, what I did is we wanted to have a way, if you do a poker run and you want to have one throttle man and somebody else steering, I basically set it up the way you do in a sport fishing with dual helms. And we got the wheel is removable, and what it allows you to do, it allows the driver to let somebody else do the steering for him. So it's a way to make it a dual-purpose boat. Pretty unique.
Great. Okay, Paul, thanks. We'll see you out there on the course today.
See you.
Next, our field reporter Marcus Zavatero caught up with Paul's son, Mike Fiore, who's a designer in his own right.
We are with Mike Fiore, president of Outer Limits Offshore Powerboats. Mike, we're on one of your brand new 1998 models. What's a little bit different about this model than some of the others?
Well, this boat has an interesting engine configuration in the bilge. As you can see, it has one motor shifted significantly further forward than the motor behind it, which enables us to get a tighter center-to-center on the motors and the outdrives, which also puts the outdrives a little closer to where you want them and gets them deeper in the water, which allows us for a faster, consistent running in rough water. And the added benefit is it's a lot easier to service the engines now. You can get around both sides of them.
We all know the temperamental motors need a little extra TLC, so this probably affords the owner a little extra room to move around them.
Well, these engines here actually are fairly reliable. They're making about 750 horsepower, which is enough to propel this boat with Bravo drives to about 110 mile an hour. So we expect some longevity out of this package.
There you have it, Mike Fiore, president of Outer Limits Offshore Powerboats. Pretty impressive power, pretty impressive boat. We'll see him on the river.
This magnificent 42-foot Sonic belongs to Harry Gold, an offshore racing veteran. And Harry, 15 years ago, we didn't see speeds in offshore racing that were equal to what's going on here today. Do you feel secure and safe?
Yeah, very much so. The manufacturers have done an outstanding job of making sure the boats are very safe and seaworthy. And to be honest with you, I think offshore racing is safer today than it was 15, 20 years ago, mainly because of the equipment. And I think people are just more safety conscious as well. So I have to agree that I think it's a very safe sport, considering the speed and that's involved.
Now, you've done this for a while. What keeps bringing you back?
Well, I guess it's sort of an addiction, you know. Once you've had it and you like it, you just can't get away from it. And show me speed, as I said, on a loud engine, and I'm there. So I'll come back until I check out of here.
Great boat, great guy, Harry Golden. Good luck today.
Thank you very much, Rich.
And why do I have a baseball? Because I'm sitting here waiting to get it autographed by Ed Kranepool from the 1969 World Championship Mets. And he has chosen a Sunseeker to come into our poker run with. Tell me about your Sunseeker.
Well, I purchased it last September up at the Norwalk show from Jim Ross at Castaways, and the reason being is my wife and I love to go away on the weekends, and we love the comforts of home, and Sunseeker has the quality that we're looking for.
From one world champion to another, Sunseeker.
When Billy Joel wrote I Go to Extremes, he was talking about this man right here, poker run legend Doc Galea. Doc has the most fantastic boat here today. Doc, tell us about it.
Hello. The boat's a 46-foot skater built by Peter Ledden up in Douglas, Michigan. The boat was rigged by Mr. Bobby Moore down in Miami. Engines were supplied by Expert Engine, Rick Joslin, and Jim Berry, and graphics were provided by Graphic Effects. The boat was designed basically to cruise. Top speed wasn't our ultimate goal, although the boat is capable of running over 140.
I noticed that because of the extreme capability of speed you have full boat racing safety features on board.
The boat actually is capable of going racing in Superboat. It has full canopies, harnesses, and all the safety gear necessary.
Now, there's a concept that in offshore, real men stand up, but you've chosen to sit down, something I prefer in the catamaran concept. Why'd you choose that?
The number of the boat is number 18. July 18th is my birthday. I'll be 48 years old, and I prefer sitting down.
And I'm 51, and he's right.
So we've got some mixed emotions about leaving, but we'll be right back for the drivers' meeting and the start of the NPBA's Lincoln Harbor Poker Run 98, right after these messages. Welcome back to the National Powerboat Association's Poker Run 98. About a mile or so up the Hudson River from the Statue of Liberty, we're back at Lincoln Harbor just in time for the final instructions to the 139 captains and their crews right before the start of the event.
The excitement's building. The drivers' meeting is starting. Let's listen in.
I'd like to welcome you all, first of all, to the Lincoln Harbor Yacht Club Poker Run. We now are the largest one in America. We're past 124 boats. I don't know what the exact count is quite yet, but I think you should all get a round of applause for yourself here, you know? Safe boating. We have
Conducting a driver's meeting is an art in itself, especially with the number of captains with varied levels of experience involved. But Billy Friend's background in racing and his years of poker run experience is invaluable here, and he's trying to control nearly 140 boats right now. Last-minute tips can be critical.
Keep the tabs down, keep the drives in. It's not a race. Feel as comfortable as you can cruise. There's a lot of boats out there, a lot of traffic. Spread out, give yourselves room. Stay away from the other guy's wake. Because we have a swim race, international swim race, that's starting at 10 a.m. at the George Washington Bridge, and they're swimming all the way down here to Chelsea. We've modified our course. You don't stop at Chelsea for your fourth card. You come back here where you'll receive the fourth and fifth cards. New York NYPD is going to put a buffer of
Okay, we got a bombshell on our hands. A swim race going south while over 100 boats are going north on the Hudson. The course has just been modified. No Chelsea piers.
12 o'clock, we're going to be at the GW Bridge. That's the plan. How about a big round of applause? All right, let's start off with 101.
After the participants each get their first sealed card, they fire up their engines and head out of the harbor. I've been invited to ride aboard a brand new 38-foot Hustler Slingshot, which is the backup pace boat. Now today we brought some boat test equipment along for the ride. We've got a Stalker Professional radar gun, which we'll be using later to record our top end speed. And this is a Radio Shack digital sound meter. Take a look at this. Sitting right here at idle speed, we're getting 89 decibels. Now that's what most cruising boats do at wide open throttle. We're idling out of the marina. And we're heading out to the milling area in the Hudson in view of the Empire State Building to wait for the pace boat. This is very exciting. I mean, there's a lot of boats out here. Well, I'd hate to be a sailboat coming down the Hudson right now.
Hi, Chris, we're on Joe Lajudishi's beautiful 40-foot Hustler getting ready for the start of this event. Joe, what's going through your mind?
We're just trying to get strategy of how we're going to come out. We'll try to start in the back and work our way through the pack.
All the way through the pack?
Well, as far as we can go. We're going to have a good time. We're out for a good boat ride.
Joe's got a secret weapon. He's got diesels. Why, Joe?
More reliable and not as fast, but I don't have to get under the engine hatch and do a lot of repairs.
Joe's very calm. It's surprising because it's a pretty exciting event. There's over 100 boats out here. Are we going to have any problems finding a lane?
Now, we'll pick our spots and work our way right through it.
Did I say a lot of boats? As a matter of fact, you're looking at 139 boats. This is the most assembled in the country this year. And some of them are from as far away as Georgia and even Florida. The cross chop at idle right here is enough to raise your blood pressure. So now, let's go to Marcus Zavatero and his 37-foot outer limits.
As we look ahead of the channel here, there's some smaller boats, 18 to 22 feet. They got to be careful. It's going to be pretty choppy, a lot of cross chop from all the boat wakes. These guys are the ones we have to be very careful of. You'll notice, hopefully they'll stay either to the back or way off to the sides, because some of these boats are going to be in excess of 100 miles an hour.
And here's one of them right there. She's called the Nasty Girl, and this pleasure boat is capable of speeds up to 118 miles an hour.
Keep your eyes open for the pace boat.
Now, as high-tech and powerful as the boats are here today, they're not all stock race boats. I mean, take a look at this. Here comes our long shot. Yes, the famous Carver 350 Mariner. I can tell you from experience, it's not going to be the fastest boat in the fleet, but you can probably put the most people on there. We've had 25 people comfortably on that boat. It's not good looking, but it's a party machine.
Yeah, I want you to be on a most starboard lane.
Now, to give you an idea of how many boats we have here today, let's quickly take a look at last year's NPBA Manhasset Bay Poker Run start with 65 boats. Now here's what 75 boats looked like at last year's Lincoln Harbor Poker Run. And now, we're back at today's event. 139 boats. They can't even fit on the screen at one time. Now, the pace boat just off the top of your screen has started to bring us up on plane, and we're having some fun now. And take a look at all that white water out there. You can tell even from this vantage point that the smaller boats in the back of the pack are going to have a hard time getting to the starting line. The fleet is spread out. They're running on both sides of the Hudson River, which is good because it gives you a little more flat water to run in. And this isn't even the start of the race yet. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with the start of the speed run of the National Powerboat Association's Lincoln Harbor Poker Run right after this. Sunny day in New York City for the start of the speed run of the Lincoln Harbor Poker Run. Now I'd like to turn you over to Rich Lures and Billy Friends to tell you about it.
Thanks, Chris. And Billy, I think the green flag has dropped. This is the largest fleet of offshore powerboats ever assembled, and Manhattan could not be a more fitting backdrop. The largest city in the U.S., the largest fleet of offshore boats. There's a bit of everything out here today. An awesome spectacle, and there's a shot. Billy, with a fleet of this size, it's confusing almost to the viewer. Each one of these boats represents so much sophistication. We need to review them one at a time.
Sure thing, Rich. Here's Gary Montano's 42-foot Comanche with triple 1,200 horsepower Cobras. And as we come under the bridge, here's Ricky Harris in the pace boat Blue Lightning Marine 40-foot Hustler.
The variety of boats is amazing. To the right, you've got a 42-foot Sonic. To the left, a 21-foot twin-engine outboard. And look at the graphics on these two. Amazing how they try to outdo each other from the artist's palette out to these boats.
And here's George Rizzo with his 10-liter fountain running 95 miles an hour at the front of the pack.
And as fast as he's going, Doc Galea in mixed emotion. Wow. Just running through the field. He's an anesthesiologist. He's certainly not sleeping in there, I hope.
Another 40-foot Hustler with triple 850 innovations in it, running close to 100 miles an hour.
Look at how cleanly that ventilated bottom is running, and the backdrop of the city. Boy, what a great shot that is. Speaking of great shots, look at Doc Galea well out in front, taking it easy. You know, those are air-conditioned canopies on that boat. He's got the most comfortable ride out here, and also the fastest at the moment.
Well, here's a bird's eye view of Rick Dolliver's 37 Outer Limits with Mike Fiore on board. They're running about 110 miles an hour, trying to keep up with his father's 50-foot Hustler, Nasty Girl, which is powered by triple 1,200 horsepower Cobra engines and Speedmaster 6 drives also.
With all that power and all that speed, they're going to have their hands full all day, the father and son team, trying to catch this boat right here, mixed emotions, because Doc Galea, if he wants to, can pull 145 miles an hour out of this rocket ship. And in those air-conditioned canopies, that's probably the last we're going to see of this boat all day long.
But you don't have to go 145 miles per hour to catch air. Here's a 26-foot Hustler doing it with a 540 big block in him.
Here's a 41-foot English-designed Cougar, very unusual boat, a beautiful boat. Great crew on board today as well.
Steve Santangelo and his crew from Hartford, Connecticut. He's got a pair of 588 big blocks and Speedmaster number 4s on it.
How fast is he going right now, Bill?
He's probably running close to 80 miles per hour.
80 miles per hour, and boy, they look like they're having a Sunday afternoon ride.
And here's Scarab's new technology for the ventilated systems on the hulls. A 38-foot, a pair of 500 HP engines in it, a Valtatora.
Every one of these hull manufacturers is experimenting with step bottoms right now. There's no doubt that that is the hull of the future, because the lead boats in this event right now are all sporting steps at the bottom.
As is this 40-foot Hustler Fiore model. Triple 850 horsepower innovation engines in it. He is capable of speeds in excess of 100 miles per hour. But what looks calm from the air is not necessarily so.
Okay, we're about midway up. We've been running through the snottiest part of the course, and I have to say, Joe did a fantastic job just getting us this far. We are moving really smartly through the fleet, averaging, I'd say, about 80 miles an hour, and in these conditions, that ain't easy. But we're having a ball. What a poker run.
Well, Rich, you and your crew look like you are having a ball. Your 40-foot Hustler with triple diesels running 80 miles an hour on the Hudson River. And here goes Pete Mazzo and his 37-foot Outer Limits, powered by 525 SC Merc Cruisers with Bravo drives on it.
Billy, most of the manufacturers here today are so taken with this poker run concept. It's so popular that they're making boats just for poker runs, poker run editions. And those boats, those poker run editions, are the top of the line. They put the best of everything in the boats. The most power, the best instruments, the best upholstery, the best coloring. They're fantastic boats, and they're out here today.
And here's a 33-foot Power Play. 525 SCs in it also. Ozzie Costello from Freeport, New York.
And if you're from Freeport, New York, your name is Ozzie, you name the boat the Wizard of Oz. Play on words and a cute one. Now here is a boat. This is a Sunseeker that belongs to Ed Kranepool, a former New York Met and a legend in New York City. So it's fitting that this beautiful boat, as big as it is quick enough to be out here in the poker run, and it's doing a fantastic job of speed. Now here's one of the smallest boats.
Here's a 32-foot Hustler, a brand new one, Rare Air. Extension boxes and Bravo outdrives on it.
Really handling nicely out here. As small as it is, they're just scooting along. A little air, but not too much.
And here's Brad Diablo out of Toms River, New Jersey. 37-foot Outer Limits, big block Chevrolets in it. He has speeds capable of 90 miles per hour also at times. But it looks like my friend Rich is having a problem.
We were flying, but as you can see, we're not anymore. A little bit of a mechanical problem. Got a broken oil line on one of the engines. It's not surprising. We've been flying for about 20 miles at well over 80 miles an hour. And even big, heavy-duty diesels can occasionally have some minor flaws. But man, this boat is a ride and a half.
And here's another ride and a half with those Speedmaster 6s looking at you. Gary Montano's 42-foot, one-of-a-kind Comanche. He's got 1,200 horsepower Cobras in it, 3 of them to be exact. And he travels the whole Poker Run circuit throughout America.
And his crew travels right with him with those color-coordinated suits. Now, here's a sleeper. MRD supercharged engines in the classic Fountain. One of the fastest boats out here, keeping his cards close to his vest, but certainly capable of speeds up there 105, 110.
But way over that, first boat to the Tappan Zee Bridge is Dr. John Galea with his 46-foot skater cat.
And in second place, Mike Pandafelli in his beautiful Hustler. Third place, a surprise, a little 28-foot skater with twin 300 outboards. Probably the best buy out here today, because here for under $100,000 is a 115-mile-an-hour boat.
Rich was able to take a detailed look at the skater a little earlier. Let's see what he had to say.
You stand by the bar here and you hear a lot of talk about big blocks, about camshafts, about turbocharging, about exhaust systems, all based on the inboard technology. But there's a dark horse here. In the under 30-foot class, my money's riding right here. And this is an outboard powered skater cat, but man, what a package. 115 miles an hour. Very simple, very clean, very sanitary. 2 300 horsepower Mercury Pro Maxes. They're under stress, 3-liter motors. They have less horsepower per cubic inch than their smaller brethren, but boy, do they put out the torque and the top end. Carefully laid out, almost race laid out, and yet it looks very civil, very alluring for the day boater. For my money, and it isn't very expensive, a boat like this with 115-mile-an-hour capability is the biggest bargain here today.
We'll be right back at the NPBA's Poker Run 98 after this. Mixed Emotions in first, Nasty Girl in second, and Tunnel Vision in third. We're on our way to checkpoint 1. Now here's Rich Lures and Billy Friends.
Welcome back to the Lincoln Harbor Yacht Club Poker Run 1998, and we're flying low on the Hudson River, as you can see. Beautiful Hustler on your screen, and in there is our co-host, Chris Kelly, who's playing State Trooper right now with a radar gun. He doesn't believe the instruments. He's telling us right now officially 100 miles an hour, and there's no reason to believe that there's anything wrong with that number.
But these gauges don't lie. And here's one of Baja's entries into the game. A 272 Baja with a big block Chevrolet and a Bravo outdrive.
Flying, getting some air out here, Billy. They're having a ball out there. They're looking ahead. There's something unusual happening on the horizon. Look at the weather. It's closing in. We've got a full-fledged squall here in the middle of the Poker Run on the northbound lake. Where'd this come from? Bright sunshine, and now we've got dark skies and forbidding raindrops.
Like needles and pins hitting everybody on the course.
We're gonna go right through it. We gave out another mile,
Yeah, it's freaking heavy right now.
I know.
Marcus Zapatero slowing down, as is everybody else out here. This rainstorm is a driving rainstorm. It's a great equalizer. It's dropped 30 or 40 miles an hour of everybody's speed. Nobody wants to barrel through this because, as Billy said, each one of those raindrops is like a BB.
But as quick as it came, it left us. We have sunny skies again. And here's Ed LaGuardia in his 26-foot Seahawk. Running about 72, 73 miles an hour with his two 2.5 Mercury outboard engines on there. On a big bracket.
The smaller boats seem to get a little more air than the larger boats, but the speeds are comparable right now, and certainly the river has been calm enough today that you didn't really need that much size to get over the waves.
And here's Dennis Corallo in his new 32-foot Hustler. 500 HP Merc Cruisers with Bravo outdrives on it. He can run upwards of 80 miles an hour and then some. Well, Rich, you covered the offshore circuit. What do you think of the Poker Run concept?
Well, for one thing, Billy, there's a lot more smiles at a poker run than an offshore race. And you know what? The crew, the family gets to participate. They not only get to watch the boat before and after the race, they get to jump in and enjoy the event. With all due respect to Sly and the Family Stone, it's a family affair. Let's hurry up and wait. Now that we're in Ossining, the idea is to get a playing card in a sealed envelope. So we're idling in online, waiting our turn. We have some difficulty now. We're only on 2 engines, but this boat can still make a very substantial 55 miles an hour on 2 motors. We were doing 80 before, 55 now, and that ain't bad.
And now a closer look at Nasty Girl, a 50-foot Hustler that goes 118 miles an hour. Triple 1,200 horsepower Cobra engines, Speedmaster number 6 drives, and all the technology available today for a positive lift hull.
Definitely the fastest V-bottom here today.
Your
Crusoe with his twin 750 horsepower big blocks, 95-mile-an-hour fountain.
And you talk about colorful. This 38-foot Sonic with twin big blocks is a rainbow of color out there, if you will, and one of the most attractive and spacious cockpits out on the Poker Run. These Sonic hulls are a little bit heavier, a little deeper V. They cut the waves that much better, and they provide a very soft and stable ride. They sacrifice a few miles an hour, but in this case, it's worth it. Another interesting hull, a catamaran, a fishing boat, a high-speed performer, all of the above. We had a chance earlier to talk to the designer builder of this boat, and he had a lot to say about it. Usually you can fish or you can fly. In this boat, you can do both. You can fly and you can fish. The Cobra, a great concept. Peter Cassini here is the builder. Rich Goldstein's the owner of this wonderful boat. Peter, tell us about it.
Well, what I've done is I've taken a two-time world champion hull in offshore racing. It's run in stock class, pro stock around the world, and I've decided to make a fishing boat out of it. And what we've done is built the fastest fishing boat ever in the world. Twin 250s, for example, the boat will run in the low to mid-80s, loaded up with fishing gear, tackle lockers, portable head, and you have enough room on this boat to put 8 people. So it's a very unique craft. We've also had them over 100 miles an hour, and this, the 30-foot, is the smallest boat built right now. We have a 36 that's just been introduced that's running over 100, about 104. That's a triple 300s, and we have a new 45 that'll be out next year.
45 foot is something to look forward to.
Heat wave, big old cigarette, a beautiful paint job. I can't get over the graphics on these boats, Billy.
As impressive as most race boats. And here's Jack Crusoe in his 30-foot Baja. 454s with 365 horsepower each, Bravo outdrives. Here's a production boat you take out and have a whole lot of fun.
And we have arrived at Haverstraw. This is where we'll break for lunch. We haven't caught up with Chris in a while. Let's see what he's up to.
Okay, we're just kind of regrouping now and drying off after that torrential rainstorm we came through underneath the Tappan Zee Bridge. I'm here with Bobby Bergone, who is one of the owners of Blue Lightning Marine, a hustler dealer based in Greenwich, Connecticut. And Bobby, how did you think the boat handled during that kind of choppy run up here?
Boat handled very well, despite the weather.
And what was your strategy coming up the river as far as dealing with all those boat wakes and the choppiness? What were you trying to do with the handling of the boat?
Well, I was just trying to maintain a smooth ride and try and dodge the rain.
It's the lunch break. We're rafting off. As you can well imagine, this many boats comes into one marina. It's a bit of a parking problem. It's pretty crowded in here, but we're finding a nice space right here. We're going to stop now, go have a little bite to eat, refresh ourselves, do some repair work on that engine, hopefully, get this thing back up to 3 engines, and then fly back down the Hudson River, down to the city.
And we'll be right back for the southbound run down the Hudson right after these messages. And welcome back to Speedvision's coverage of the 1998 Lincoln Harbor Yacht Club Poker Run. We had about 4 boats drop out earlier in the day. We had a big rainstorm, some rough sea conditions, but things have flattened out now. The biggest trouble here today is with all the boat wakes. We've got about 110 boats, all creating a big V pattern. And it's a real challenge for these drivers to keep their noses down into the wake and get some good speed out of these boats. We'll catch up with you right after this.
Well, we've caught up with this classic 28-foot cigarette thumper.
And a 23-foot Celebrity production hull out here playing with the big boys today.
Here's a classic and an economical one at that. Original George Linder design Challenger from Superboat. 21 feet long and capable of speeds of over 75 miles an hour. These two guys are having a ball on there, and they've really got a little secret here, because this boat is a rough water master, and even with that small motor, it's a great boat. But speaking of great boats, here's a 42-foot Sonic, and Harry Golden's got a great crew on board there, and they're having a wonderful time. And you know what? I think I'm going to get on board that boat and ride the rest of the way down to the finish of this event. While I'm doing that, it looks like Chris has already switched boats. He's on the Euro Marine.
With me right now is Rob Crusoe, who's the president of Total Marine of Mamaroneck, New York. And Tom, tell me a little bit about this boat. This is a pretty unique boat. It's a one-of-a-kind here in the Poker Run.
Well, what it is, it's a 42-foot Euromarine. It's a wide-beam cruiser, performance-oriented boat. We imported from Europe. It's got twin 450 horsepower diesel engines and harness and surface drives. There's a lot of speed and a lot of efficiency, long range, just eats up distance.
And who makes those diesel engines?
These are six-cylinder Ford diesels modified by a company called Daytona. We do all the installations here. We bring over the hull and the interiors completely finished, and we do the rigging right here in the United States with American components.
And why would a customer be looking for a boat, a very unique one like this one?
There's a certain level of panache, a certain level of fit and finish that we just really aren't getting here on United States boats, and it's Italian styling, and it's a unique boat.
Tutto bene. And one last question. What about the outdrives? I hear we got a unique propulsion system going on here.
Right, this boat's powered with harness and surface drives. They're able to handle a lot of horsepower. The propellers are actually piercing the surface when the boat runs. That's why it kicks up that big rooster tail that you see. And they're made out of bronze, so they're very strong and durable.
Okay, let's see how she runs.
Well, Chris, looks like she's running great. And in your new role as the gadget guy, what else do you know about the boat?
One other thing to note about the 42 Euromarine, you remember at the top of the show when we were idling out of Lincoln Harbor, we recorded an ambient sound level of about 86, 88 decibels on the sound meter. That was at forward idle. Out here, we're running at almost wide open throttle, and we're getting the same sound reading. So obviously, we've got a pretty quiet boat here.
From quiet to outrageously loud. Here's a classic cigarette.
38-footer, big block Chevrolets, Speedmaster outdrives on it. This is what the sport was all based around. Here's Rich Mazzano with his 38-foot slingshot, getting some air there. See that again.
Now don't be alarmed. These boats are designed to leave the water and re-enter smoothly. And as you notice, the people on board were hardly ruffled by that little journey in the air.
Now he's going to step it up and run up in the low 100-mile-an-hour bracket where he usually goes.
And it says it all, troublemaker. And you don't make trouble without a lot of horsepower. And here's the business end, all the cooling water coming out, the surface drives. From Georgia, Beaufort, Georgia, Barclay Gibb comes up every year to enjoy this wonderful New York City event.
And here's Ricky Harris with the Pace Boat. Blue Lightning Marine out of Coscob, Connecticut. They build high-performance engines. They sell Hustler powerboats. They sell Velocity powerboats. We'd like to thank Ricky Harris and Bobby Rigono of Blue Lightning Marine for supplying the Pace Boat for the MPBA circuit of 1998.
And as we're coming by the George Washington Bridge on the southbound leg, that tells us that we're coming down to the conclusion of the 1998 poker run, so stay with us. Welcome back to the Lincoln Harbor Yacht Club Poker Run 1998, and here, number 3, is a 28-foot crown line with a crew of 3 on board, coming under the George Washington Bridge. They're coming down to the finishing. Talk about colorful. Team Hustler, about 6 people in there. They couldn't be happier, Billy.
50-foot Hustler by Stu Podolsky with triple 700 horsepower Cobra engines. You get the Speedmaster number 6s on there also.
And here's a beautiful 38-foot Baja Special. And you know what? You see the big happy faces in there. Uniformly, people are having a ball. When you consider that over 130 boats started, I don't know how many engines have gone up and down the Hudson River. We've had a rainstorm. We've had some difficulties along the way. But by and large, everybody's safe. Everybody's having a ball. And by the way, in the background, there goes J.D. D'Elia in a historic race boat, the Dia-1.
And a classic 35 Cafe Racer cigarette with Speedmaster number 3 outdrives from Bridgeport, Connecticut. Big block Chevrolet gives him the power.
And here's a pair of Bajas locked in a duel coming down to the finish. Again, happy people having a ball. Speaking of speed, let's check in with Harry Bolden.
So at this speed, we should be coming into Lincoln Harbor in about 10 minutes.
You know, the excitement is building, Billy. They're coming down to the finish. They're coming down to the big poker hand. Everybody's getting a little bit heavy throttle hand right now.
That Stalker is showing you right here in the last straightaway.
Even the DeMars Mach 1, a relatively stock boat, not really a performance boat, they're flat out.
He's pushing it all he can also.
Leftward last year won a poker run, I understand.
He did. It's 34-foot Sonic with 2 outboards on it. He came in first place at the Manhasset Bay.
I think his crew member is celebrating already, and here's Maria Scarduzio in her new 26-foot Sonic. Coming down to the finish, she had a ball today.
Classic Formula, 357, with a full crew on board. It's not real fast, but it's a real comfortable ride. As Jim Meade in his big Formula 357, all the way from New Jersey.
There's a lot of formulas, a lot of cigarettes, a lot of Bajas, a lot of Hustlers, a lot of Outer Limits, a lot of Mountains. My goodness, there's more manufacturers, and yet there's so many boats, there's plenty of everything. Did I mention Sonic?
38-foot cigarette, Rob Perez, coming down to the finish line. Again, they're all putting it out now.
Look at the graphics on that boat, and coming across the finish line with a salute to everybody involved. A beautiful boat and a beautiful day.
Stalker out of Pennsylvania. 37 Outer Limits, 33-foot power play.
They're saving the best for last. These guys are definitely flat out now. Crossing the finish line and shutting it down for the day.
37-foot Outer Limits by Diablo. Another 37 Outer Limits, the Stiletto model. And my old racing comrade, Guy LaMotta, and his 40-foot cigarette. The 522 cubic inch blower motor made by MRD in that boat.
And look who's here, Dr. Leah. He went north, he went to West Point. He took a detour, but he still came in, I think, 3rd or 4th overall, rubbing their nose in his speed. And you know what? It's been a great day. Everybody's had a ball. People have gone fast. They've had fun, but it's been safe. We missed the checkpoint. We had a few problems, but overall, what a wonderful event. Congratulations, Billy Friend.
Thank you very much, Rich.
Harry Golden has just given us a display of seamanship that was first class. Did a wonderful job. Not one mistake all the way down from Haverstraw. I give this crew A+.
We made a pretty good speed. A boat of this size is 42-foot Sonic, and it takes the rough water extremely well. Some of the other boats are faster, but they don't take the rough water quite as well, and we made up the lost time when in the choppy stuff out here.
Home at last, and Chris, what's next?
Well, you can see we've made it safely back here at Lincoln Harbor Yacht Club. Most of the boats are coming in now. Everybody is no worse for the wear. We had a couple of boats broke down, but they're all taken care of now. Everybody's going to tie up, clean up, and now the excitement builds because we're all going back to the clubhouse to open up those sealed envelopes. The guy with the best poker hand at the end of this thing is going to walk out of here with $5,000 cash. Let's see what happens next.
So stay tuned for the exciting conclusion of the 1998 Lincoln Harbor Yacht Club Poker Run. It's big talk around the docks. It's the awards and conclusion of the largest boating event in America, the NPBA's Lincoln Harbor Poker Run.
Awesome.
We finish and nothing broke. I'm happy.
That's a good day.
That's a good day.
So we're here dockside with Mike Fiore, who was out in front leading the race, at least hanging with Doc Golian, his 46 skater. Mike, tell us what happened when you launched off a pretty big wave.
Oh, we were running with the top 3 boats, all going about 110 or so, and we hit a big ferry wake, and on the 3rd wake, we broke the transmission off the back of the motor, so it was quite spectacular.
Tell us about the day. How'd you enjoy it?
The boat ran well. I think our main competition was the triple-engine Hustler. He was running probably in the low 100s, and I just kept ahead of him. And then when we saw the Tappan Z in view, then we just poured it on a little bit just to make sure we were number 1. And I guess we won the poker run today. Now, if I'm lucky, I might even win the poker hand.
Look for this rig at a poker run near you. It's worth coming out to see.
We'd like to thank you all for coming out to the 2nd annual Lincoln Harbor Powerboat Poker Run. I have a Best Looking Crew Award here for Martinez from the Jaws. How about those outfits, huh? Best Looking Boat of the event. This goes to Nasty Girl. Nasty Girl, the Hustler, the 50-foot Hustler. Second one to the bridge, by the way. Queen of the show, Ed Cranepool's Sunseeker. the fastest Class A boat. They came up with a 28-foot skater cat with twin outboards on it, the Philippone brothers. The first boat to the Tappan Zee Bridge. Everybody kind of bet on him, and he kind of stayed together, so he won it. How about a round of applause for Dr. John Golia and Mixed Emotions? That big catamaran, he came out and did it up. Mr. Ed LaGuardia pulled out 4 kings. $5,000, big round of applause for Ed LaGuardia. 26-foot Seahawk. $5,000 and the biggest trophy here.
Well, Rich, this morning when we started off, things were looking pretty good. We had the course scripted out, beautiful morning, 4 checkpoints laid out, and then things took a little bit of a change there.
Chris, the best laid plans of mice and men frequently go awry, and today was no exception. Mother Nature had other plans for us today. We had a driving rainstorm, we had super hot temperatures, a bit of a breeze later on, a little of everything, a cornucopia, if you will. It was a great event, however. The interesting thing is that the guys who were supposed to be the fastest, the technically correct guys, they were the fastest. The guys who said they were the fastest, the bar correct guys, they weren't. It turned out the way we expected it to, all in all. We missed a checkpoint, we avoided a swimming race, we had a great time. I'd like to thank the hosts who had us aboard their boats all day long, and I know you have some people you want to thank as well.
Right, I'd like to thank our sponsors today, which was Hustler Boats and Sunseeker. And we look forward to seeing you next year at the 3rd annual Lincoln Harbor Yacht Club Poker Run. For Rich Lures, I'm Chris Kelly saying so long till next year.
This has been the Lincoln Harbor Powerboat Poker Run, brought to you by the National Powerboat Association. We'll see you next time on Speedvision.